Welcome to Sunday Live. I am Amina Yuguda. On this episode of the show, we'll be talking about the role of youth in government. Welcome back. I'm joined now by my relatively young panelists. I have Mr. Okey and Immaculata Onuigbo, and of course Mr. Julius Jersey, the not so young, and they are the very young panelists. Well, today we're focusing on the role of the youth in Nigerian government, and in fact the government of the world in general. Now recently the French people elected the youngest ever president from after Napoleon Bonaparte, the youngest ever president, that's Emmanuel Macron, who's just 39. You know, that's something that we all can look forward to. But today, you know, in Nigeria, we don't have very young people engaged actively in government. So let me start with, I'm very biased towards women, so I'm starting with my fellow woman here, Immaculata. What do you think is the role of the youth in Nigeria's government today?
Youth, they say we are the leaders of tomorrow, right? So I think we should actually be given more chance to actually participate more actively in the Nigerian leadership. Because what you see today, most of our presidents from the past, they've been at least 70 years old, and it's not giving youth the chance. Yeah,
we're not giving the Nigerian constituency isn't giving more young people opportunities to participate actively in government. But I've been hearing this saying that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow ever since I was a kid. And I think I'm no longer a kid and I'm still here. So when are the youth actually going to get that opportunity? And I'm posing that question to you. Okay, you've just finished NYSC, so you've served the country as a youth. So do you think there are better opportunities for the youth in Nigeria's government today?
Yeah, if you look at it from the prism of youth in active politics, you see that from time immemorial, the youth have been very active. So it's about meaningful participation. And because if you look at it, we are the ones carrying the ballot boxes. Is it not participation?
Yeah.
We are the ones doing the pro-singing. Is it not participation?
Yes.
So the youth, I think, with the recently sponsored bill to amend the constitution to allow for some elective positions to reduce the age, like presidency from 40 to 30. I think it's going to give an opportunity for the youth to actively and meaningfully.
Exactly, I was going to say that because when you say participation, it has to be the right kind of participation.
Sure.
Because in recent times, you know, considering the 2015 elections and elections gone by, the youth have often been the ones, the tools for unrest during elections. When there are protests and people coming out to fight, necessarily, it's usually the youth who are in the front of that.
Sure.
And then I want to point out something that recently happened, Mr. Julius. Well, over the weekend, the former president, the former military leader, Ibrahim Babangida's daughter got married. And in the pictures that we saw from the event, there were all kinds of people from across party lines. We had APC, we had PDP, they were hugging each other, smiling. We didn't have the youth there, but it was, you know, people from different party lines, and we're happy, and no one was fighting, no one's exchanging blows. Exactly. You know, so why is it that the youth have failed to live up to the expectation of meaningful participation in government?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I mean, the youth have actually participated in government. If you look back to the genesis of Nigeria, beginning of Nigeria.
Are you going to talk about the 1966?
Yes, all the way through. We've had people like Yakubu Gowon, we've had people like Murtala Mohammed. You understand? Ironsi died at the age of 42, or he was killed at the age of 42.
But we cannot overlook the fact that they were not elected. These were military.
Yes, I agree. But, you know, they had responsibility to maintain, as far as I'm concerned, maintain what Nigeria gave them at that time. And maintaining that thing and then formulating strategies that will allow people like me I mean, by now I should have retired as a president. You understand? You understand? But there's a disconnect somewhere, and unfortunately, the youth are the ones that suffer for it. You just talked about ballot box snatching and stuff like that. Now, that disconnect, I keep asking when I meet my older uncles, and I said, what went wrong? You used to tell us stories about when you were in ABU Zaria, that you just come, drop your clothes, you have half a chicken, you get half a chicken for lunch and all that. Now students are struggling to even do 010, you understand? So that disconnect, unfortunately the people that cause the disconnect are looking for scapegoats, and it is the youth that are scapegoats. Then the youths on their own part have not been helpful. We've had people like Salisu Buhari. You understand?
Yes.
They had every opportunity.
The infamous Salisu Buhari.
Yes, the infamous Salisu Buhari. And so the few opportunities that youth have had to come into the space, the political space, some of them have failed, some have excelled, you understand? But the truth is that we cannot just say youth have not been part of it. But then, what's the definition of a youth in Nigeria?
Exactly. I was going to ask that question because we cannot seem to come to a consensus on who is a young person in Nigeria, because, well, according to some definitions, someone from 30 and below up to about 18 to 30 is a youth, right? And then other definitions, it goes up to 45, and so we need to, okay, I'm not going to ask you what your age is on national TV, on live TV, but, you know, do you think you're part of the youth?
I don't think so.
And so what can we do to make sure that our youth are equipped with the tools to take over the mantle of leadership? Because I'm not so sure that even if they were giving opportunities right now, Nigeria's youth are ready to take over leadership. Do you think they are?
Yes and no. Now, I always like to give this scenario. The basic thing that one needs, you understand, to come into a situation whereby he can run the affairs of government is education. And you'll agree with me that today our educational system is more or less comatose. You understand? I like giving an example with the cyberspace. A lot of innovation is coming in the tech industry. A lot of companies are coming up that are being championed by youth. You understand? But if you take a critical look at the Nigerian cyberspace, most of the companies that are thriving, you have like Konga, I'm not advertising for them, Konga, you have Iroko TV, you have Hotels of NG. They're being run by youth. But if you look at one common factor amongst them is that most of these guys trained outside the country. So they have a mindset that is totally different from those of us that were trained here, you understand? The mindset is, let me just get by. Let me just get by. Let me just get by. Where will I get a job? Who will give me a job? Where will I get? How much salary will I earn? And then who wants to use me to achieve his aim?
Exactly. So most of the people who schooled in the country are thinking about becoming salary earners, not entrepreneurs. And this is what, you know, foreign education tries to instill in students. But we have someone who's been able to achieve so much from a very reputable university here in the country. It's right here in our hometown, the AUN. Immaculata, you've recently graduated with outstanding honors. Across the board, you are the best performing student. Can you tell us a bit about your experience, you know, here in Yola? And I understand your story is, you know, it started from humble beginnings and now you're at the top echelon of your peers. Tell us a bit about your educational journey.
When I first got to Yola, it was a bit strange because it was very new. I wasn't used to the environment, especially the language barrier. That was the first thing I had to actually
That's with
overcome.
the community, not the university.
Yes, the community in general. So that was the first thing I had to overcome. But once I was able to go past that, I was able to adapt quickly, and the opportunities that AUN gives to its students, it's really amazing, because we're talking about youth leadership. AUN has so many platforms where students can actually learn how to acquire leadership skills. One famous one is the Student Government Association. You're actually, if you're the president, you actually handling the affairs of the students, the entire student body, representing their affairs to the school authority. So that's something very huge. So I believe that if a student is able to manage that, they just need a little more
mentoring,
yes, to be able to handle something like that as big as a country.
Okay.
So I think they can start with that.
Well, it's not just the year you're in this excelling. Okay, as a graduate too. I'm not sure from what school, but I do know that you're very entrepreneurial minded. You're out there to make as much money as possible. So tell us a bit about your journey from your university up to the NYC you served and what your aspirations are.
Anyway, just judging from the Nigerian educational system, you see that we have a dysfunctional education in Nigeria, because it's only in Nigeria that people study what they don't need and they don't even know what they need. Just like every other Nigerian, we got into the university, some of us we got into there more confused than we were before.
Even before you got into the university?
Because we had this crisis of what exactly do I want to achieve. So at the end of the day, we were able to pull through. I pulled through just like every other person. I participated in the SUG of the school and as a vice president, and it was an eye-opener for me because it made me realize that our political values is terrible. What the younger generation tend to learn from our politicians is corruption, how to be corrupt. Because even as, yes, you have to be real. Because even at the stage of ordinary SUG, you see all manner of corruptions, as in kleptomanic tendencies exhibited by these young Nigerians. So you can imagine when they have the opportunity to run the affairs of the country, they will sell the country and pocket the money. You will not know.
But you see, when you say that they've learned this from politicians, I beg to differ. Because I don't think anyone learns to be a thief from watching other people. It has to do with the family setup, the morals, the values that your parents bring you up with. If your parents bring you up to be a very honest person, I don't think you're going to go into university and become a thief all of a sudden. Of course, the society, in a way, glamorizes, glorifies people who have earned money from corrupt means, but that is not an excuse for any young person
no doubt,
to follow that.
No doubt, but don't forget about the environmental factors. When you bring a criminal, when you bring a sane mind and put him in a prison, over time he tends to behave like such people because of the environment where he has found himself. So when those people, when they find themselves in such positions, they tend to follow the footsteps, or maybe what they have heard, I want to belong. Do you understand that mentality? You want to be a big boy without working.
All right, so Mr. Jesse, let me bring back the focus to you. Yeah. It's quite disheartening for me. I'm from here, I'm from Adamawa State, and then I find people from our part of the country extremely disadvantaged. Right here we have two people who are both from the eastern part of the country, excelling in their fields, and they're here, they're taking over whatever opportunities they get, they're taking advantage of it. And we can't say the same for our own youth, our young people here. We probably have a few who are, trailblazers who are ahead of the rest. But why is it that the North is seemingly not able to compete with other parts of the country in terms of education, in terms of opportunities, in terms of social activism? What is the problem?
I think for me, it's a function of what we demand from people in charge of our affairs, people in government. Now, I'll give you a typical scenario. If Julius says he wants to contest for elections in Adamawa, for instance, and I maybe have all it takes entrepreneurially, management-wise, you understand, forward thinking and all that, and then I come out, I marshal my points and everything, and then the time for election comes. You know what people will ask you for? In Hausa, they'll say, Okey. You've not given us tools to work with. And what are those tools?
Money.
Basically money.
Bribes.
You understand? Bribes. So the person comes, he buys you, and then he gets into office. It's an investment at that point, and he needs to recoup from his investments. So investments that are supposed to go into education, you understand? You don't see them. Investments that are supposed to go into healthcare, into youth development is an unfortunate thing. I always say the youths are just disadvantaged, you understand? Nobody, it pains me when we're looking at poverty alleviation programs, and the only thing that comes to the mind is you. That means there are poverty-stricken people. We've already given them a particular psyche that men are poor. You understand? So the thinking is government needs to give me aid. This person needs to give me aid. But the basic problem, like I keep saying, is education. And then number two, what the society demands of us. Maybe because of the prevalent poverty in the society too, election time is time to maybe make small money for most people. You understand? So we don't really judge, and we don't vote people based on the fact that they have the best, manifesto which we believe they will follow when they get into office. We vote people based on certain sentiments and then the monetary aspects of it. So the truth is, it's not an isolated case. You cannot just look at the youth and say the youths are the problem. The society is a problem that also fuels that. He talks about, in quotes, he said tiffin. In quotes, tiffin. And it's something the society has made. I mean, you are in office and then maybe you're a palm sec in your office and you sit down, and then I see these guys. In a day, you have 20, 30 people coming to meet you. I just came around, I don't have fuel, but you burnt fuel to come to the office, and then I need, give me something for fuel. I say, so how does this guy maintain that lifestyle? So, somebody was telling me yesterday that the Ramadan is just about to begin. And we were having discussions, and I was like, it was as if I'm not from this part. He was telling me that some people have to buy at least 20 trailers of foodstuff and all that. We were talking about investments, and he said it's the best time to invest in land and properties because a lot of properties will be in the market. And I said, why would properties be in the market? He said, because people need to prepare for Ramadan. And I said, why would people need to spend that much money when what happens at Ramadan is typically you're supposed to have 3 square meals. Now you now squeeze it to 1. So can't we just squeeze everything and then the cost? They said, no, it's beyond that. There are people that need to be taken care of. And so you have somebody in office that needs to buy 5 trailers. And it happens during Christmas too. You need to settle people. Sure. So the settlement culture has just permeated deep into us. And if we want to solve these issues, it's not just youth that we need to look at. We need to go down. And for me, I think it's an experiment that would take like 20 years. It's just superficially that we're going to solve it.
I find it interesting that you talk about, the culture. Because, for instance, when we expect government officials to do everything, then there's a deep-seated problem that we're failing to recognize. Because, for instance, if you are a public official, why would a young person just come to your office and expect you to give them tips? If you accept tips from a public official, and then you're fostering a culture of corruption because you're expecting him to take out of his own personal savings or his personal income to give you that money, which he wouldn't want to do. So he has to look for ways to get extra income to pay off everyone. And this is a problem that I have. I've had conversations with lots of people, on a daily basis, and they say, well, if the government is doing things like reconstructing roads, rehabilitation of schools, the programs that we expect of our government, and then he doesn't settle, that's the word, that's the Nigerian word, he doesn't settle the boys, so to speak. Eventually he'll have a problem. They'll probably vote him out of office because telochi. That's what it means. There's hunger in the land because money isn't, just being circulated, which is exactly, I think the problem is. We cannot continue to blame government for all of our woes. We have to take advantage take responsibility and take advantage of the opportunities that we can have for ourselves.
Exactly.
So you're going to say something?
You're right, but I would want to look at it from the prism that why we blame the government most times is while we suffer, they have no practical solution to our problems. They inflict more sufferings. Machiavelli would say that politicians, they not disputes among citizens to get them distracted so that they cannot unite against them. They use poverty to keep everybody down. They make you dependent on them. So that's why during elections, that's when they remember that there are people I should take care of. They will go and give you 1,000, 2,000. Perhaps you are very hungry. The 1,000 will make a lot of meaning to you. You would have sold your conscience for 1,000 naira. So while we blame the government, we should also see it as the death of our value system. Because I cannot see why someone will sell his conscience because of 1,000. Because there is hunger. Did they tie your hands? People that feed, how do they feed? So the idea of people sitting at home going to beg, no, I don't support that idea. And people should learn how to take care of themselves and take care of people around them. If you know you cannot take care of this person, it's early, you stop, don't bring the person out. By the time you give birth to 20 people, perhaps the pressure is on you. What meaningful livelihood do you have? The next thing is you resort to begging. And these politicians, they will use you very well. The next thing is, you know now.
Well, yeah, okay, so if you go to the markets in public places, you know, there's everyone says Zaman in Buhari, like it means Buhari's dispensation, so to speak. The things are harder. The quality of life of most Nigerians isn't up to par. And then some people would say, oh, they preferred the corruption of the previous administration because at least they had, you know, money flowing around and they didn't care about the sources of the income, but there was money. Now, as Nigeria's future leaders, I want to know what your opinion is on this whole issue. Would you rather have a situation where ill-gotten gains, stolen money is being circulated free of charge, or a very sane, fiscally responsible government who's planning for your future, bearing in mind that for every, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You'd go through suffering to get a better day in the future. So first, I want to hear your opinion, Immaculata, because you've been awfully quiet.
All right, I think looking at the long-term solution, it's going to be difficult, definitely. But I think what the government could do is to take it slow. They shouldn't just the prices shouldn't be jacked so high so quickly, because it's really overwhelming on people that have so many people that depend on them. So I think I support the long-term goals of you know, making the economy better and all, but then it should be a slow process so that people they don't have to die of hunger just because we are looking for
restructuring the country. We're
yes.
Refinancing the government, so to speak. Okay, I feel like you have so much to say about this because you're smiling and nodding. So what's your opinion on this?
Anyway, you just have to realize nothing good comes easy. And the idea of things being costly, sometimes they are all man-made. Because you get to the market, someone that bought something for maybe 5,000 naira, the price has changed a bit. He starts selling at the new price that has changed.
That's even an individual corruption, because
Yeah,
even the orange seller or the person who sells something that in no way has the economy affected it, he'll say, oh well, the dollar has risen.
Good.
For everything. It's mind-boggling to me how
everything. So if you look at it, it's about we as individuals doing the right thing. Like this morning, I was discussing with somebody. I said, I'm coming home. Can you get me something to drink? He said, palm wine, probably. Want to hear? I know you like it. He said, one cup goes for 500. I told him, wow. Previously, we used to buy it 500, 200, 150. He said, no, now everything is dollar. What has palm wine got to do with dollar? So these are the realities. We have to be human. The long-term projects of the government, it has to be, all of us have to be patient so that we get to the root of the matter. The idea of throwing money up and down, it's not take us anywhere.
Mr. Julius, so what's your...
Yeah, I've been actually itching to comment on this, most especially the fact that it's Buhari's time and things are bad. And most of us look at it as strictly a Buhari problem. But for me, I always tell Nigerians this: we are paying for our carelessness in years before Buhari came into power. Now, when Yaradua left, and by the time Yaradua was leaving power, we had over 60 billion thereabouts in our foreign reserves. And our foreign reserves is what powers trade. We buy fish, the exchange is made using our foreign reserves, just open letters of credit and all that. But gradually, from that period to early 2015, that same 60 billion had been whittled down to about 30-something billion, without a commensurate investment in infrastructure, in our people and the rest of them. And now we get to a point. Our major income earner is oil. And oil had gone south.
Yeah.
It had traveled south, trading close to $33, $22, $28 to $33. So we cannot, there's no way we can sustain it. And so the government had to come in. Even if they did not come in, the situation would have gotten worse. Now government had to come in and say, okay, what are we using these dollars to bring in? I'm not sitting in brief for government, but let's tell ourselves the truth. What are we using these dollars to bring in? CBN says we're going to ban 40-something items. You will not get access to official for forex at the official rate. So go and source it from the open market. Things like toothpick, things like fish. The Norwegian government, when that happened, because Norway was depending so much on the Nigerian market, they had to call a special session in their parliament to talk about the fact that Nigerians were not buying fish and it was affecting their economy. What is fish? If Abenwe is here.
You have lots of fish in Haingada.
No,
Just yeah, we do have lots of fish.
We don't. Those fish come from Cameroon. The bulk of them coming from Cameroon. Most of our rivers here have been overfished, so much so that you don't get fish from within Nigeria. Maybe when you go to places like Kiri Dam. So what have we been doing? You understand? We need to sit back and ask ourselves questions instead of looking for who to blame. Is Buhari? Is this government? The reality is those monies, that over 30 billion that disappeared, where did it go to? Now you can see, we've started seeing the results when people started buying whistles to blow. You understand? I'm not sitting in brief for government, but we have to tell ourselves the truth. We were very careless. We depended on only one source of income, past governments up to this government. We had excess money in our the governors decided to share the excess good account. A country like Norway has over $80 billion in their sovereign wealth funds. Chiefly, they fund their economy with fish. The oil is saved. A country like Kuwait, like Dubai, like Qatar, these are supposed to be our contemporaries. They have so much money saved up in sovereign wealth funds. For Nigeria, it's 1 point something. It was just yesterday, 3 days ago, that another 500 million was kept aside. So we're looking at 2 billion. And then we're looking for just 1 month to blame. Yeah, I know the government has its problems. I know CBN has come up with over 24 policies and some assaulted on 21 within a year. So I know there's a learning process, but truly, it is not a one-man thing. And then everybody does this and is waiting for government.
And just like the government says, the change should begin with you.
Sure.
I'm hoping that this panel here will all change agents, and hopefully leaving from here, you're going on to your communities, to the larger society to effect some kind of change. Now, we cannot talk about the role of the youth in government without talking about, the democracy and, of course, the role of the opposition in a democracy. The PDP is the official, so to speak, opposition party. And then the loudest voices we've heard from the PDP are people like Ayo Fayose and Femi Fani Kayode, who, to be quite honest, are not giving constructive criticism. They're drawing attention to irrelevant issues. So what can we say about the role of the opposition in Nigeria's government, bearing in mind people like Ayo Fayose and Femi Fani Kayode? Okay, you have lots to say this evening. Talk to me, because you're smiling. I want to hear what you have to say.
Anyway, opposition, before APC came into power, I think within 2014, they kept PDP on their toes. But it's unfortunate today, PDP is completely, in fact, is awaiting burial, because there's a lot of division, there's a lot of distractions. Opposition should be the voice of the voiceless.
Exactly.
That's what it should be. But unfortunately, in the Nigerian context, there's a lot of confusion in the opposition party. And this has made the government to have a kind of freedom to come up with any policy, do anything they like. The individuals will talk. It will not make any meaning. Just like when a group comes and says something, it has a sound. It has a weight than when individual is ranting over small issues. You start attracting sympathy. That's what I look at it from. You attract sympathy. That's not opposition. Viable opposition should be able to give an objective criticism of a government. Not only criticizing, but providing alternative. You cannot be criticizing something you have no alternative to. So, and within the last 1 year or 2 years, opposition is dead in Nigeria. And it is practically visible to everybody to see that the government feels free, they do anything, they come up with one policy, they say change begins with me. But the change, unfortunately, is not even beginning with them, the politicians.
And in no way am I trying to belittle the PDP, but I do believe that the opposition in a democracy is a very veritable force that can change and inspire change. More than anything, they're the voice of the voiceless,
Sure.
the voice of the people.
Sure.
More than anything, the PDP has the potential to rise great again and to compete favorably with the APC. But we've seen a situation where the lines are blurred. We don't even know who the true PDP members are and the APC members, because they keep cross-capiting, defecting, going back and forward. You know, so Mr. Jesse, I want to know what your opinion is on this whole issue.
Zero sum. Not too much shenanigans about it. The opposition that we have is in government. So the government and the opposition, they are all together. Why am I saying this? You see, before Buhari emerged as president, if you look at the trail line that he left, he moved from APP to ANPP to CPC, and then there was alliance with AD and all that before he became president. So there was a lot of movements in and out, in and out, in and out. But mark you, it's the same set of people that have been running politics till now. What will happen most likely in 2019? I'm not trying to sit in brief for APC, but I don't see any viral opposition for 2019. But the problems they are having within, which is natural. Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, we're running a one-party system in disguise. The problems they're having within would come to fore maybe after 2019 or before 2019, and there will be another realignment of forces. Then another party will probably emerge as an opposition, as an opposing party, because it's not opposition long-term, it's opposing for elections. So there will be an opposing party that will come, possibly win elections, and then we go back. Unless something gives way. The Nigerian political landscape has been the same people, the same players, just a realignment of forces, and then that realignment would still happen in 2019 and beyond. Okay,
unfortunately we're running out of time, we've come to the end of the show today, but I want to close on the theme that we started on, the French president, 39-year-old Emmanuel Macron. He was inaugurated today. It took him just 1 year to start his movement, his centrist movement, the La République En Marche, you know, and he's within 1 year been able to revolutionize a political ideology and thought and galvanize people behind him. And this is just 39. So I'm hoping from this program and to other youth who are opportune to watch today's program and who feel motivated to do something, I'm hoping that we all can come together and make sure that we effect change, starting from ourselves, our families, our community, and then maybe to the larger society. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us same time next week for a fresh episode of the program.